Ambassador Tahoe Park stood in the massive hangar, trying to keep a polite smile on his face. Behind him, 200 of Earth's most important officials whispered among themselves. They all stared at humanity's first alien gift, a starship that looked like it belonged in a scrapyard. The alien delegation, tall blue-skinned beings from the Astral Federation, watched with barely hidden smirks. Their leader, High Commander Velox, spread his 4 arms wide. "We present to humanity this wonderful vessel, a sign of our friendship." Tahoe felt his jaw tighten, but he kept smiling. 5 years of diplomatic talks had led to this moment. Humanity had finally proven they could achieve faster than light travel, earning them a place in the galactic community. This ship was supposed to be their welcome gift. "The Phoenix Dawn," Velox announced, "is a fine example of a Class D cargo hauler. It has served many species well over the centuries." From the crowd behind Tahoe, Engineer Damie Lee couldn't stay quiet anymore. She stepped forward, her work tablet in hand. "Centuries. This ship design is over 300 years old." The alien's smirks grew wider. Tahoe shot Damie a warning look, but she ignored it. She walked right up to the ship's hull, running her hand over the scratched metal. "The navigation system is outdated. The life support looks like it's barely working. And that fusion core," she pointed to the engine section, "it's practically ancient." Captain Hyunki Kang watched from the side, his eyes narrowing. Unlike the others, he wasn't angry. Instead, he looked thoughtful, studying every inch of the ship with growing interest. "We thought it best to start humans with simpler technology," Velox said smoothly, "something more suited to your current level of development." The insult was clear. Earth's officials muttered angrily, but no one dared speak up. This was humanity's first real interaction with the galactic community. They couldn't afford to seem ungrateful. Damie walked the length of the ship, her tablet scanning everything. "The hull is pure xanthamian alloy," she muttered, mostly to herself. "Thick plates, way thicker than modern ships. And look at these power conduits." Captain Hyunki stepped closer to her. "What are you seeing, Engineer Lee?" She glanced up, her eyes bright with excitement despite the situation. "Captain, this ship, it's built like an old tank. Modern ships are sleek and efficient, but this," she knocked on the hull, "this is over-engineered. Every system has backups for its backups. It's not elegant, but, Hanke prompted, his interest growing. But it's incredibly robust. The basic framework could handle way more stress than it was designed for." A slow smile spread across Damie's face. "They think they're insulting us, but they just gave us the perfect test bed." Hyunki matched her smile. He turned to Ambassador Tahoe and nodded slightly. Tahoe understood immediately. "High Commander Velox," Tahoe announced loudly, bowing deeply. "Humanity graciously accepts your generous gift. We look forward to learning much from this historic vessel." The aliens looked disappointed at humanity's lack of outrage. Velox recovered quickly. "We will leave a small observation team to help you understand the basic operations." After the main alien delegation left, Hyunki gathered Damie and a few others in a quiet corner of the hangar. "Engineer Lee, I want a complete assessment of this ship's potential. Not what it was designed to do, but what it could do." Damie was already making notes on her tablet. "The fusion core alone, with some modifications." She looked up. "Captain, they gave us this ship because they think we're primitive. They don't expect us to understand it, let alone improve it." "Exactly." Hyunki looked back at the Phoenix Dawn. Under the harsh hangar lights, the old ship's hull gleamed dully. "They gave us their worst, thinking it would keep us in our place. Let's show them how humanity deals with hand-me-downs." The small group looked at their gift with new eyes. Where others saw an insult, they saw possibility. Where the aliens intended humiliation, they found opportunity. The Phoenix Dawn might have been the galaxy's worst starship, but it had just been handed to the galaxy's best innovators. Humanity's first step into the galactic community hadn't gone as expected. But then again, humanity's greatest moments rarely did. 3 weeks after receiving the Phoenix Dawn, Engineer Damie Lee hadn't left the ship for more than a few hours at a time. She sat cross-legged in the engine room, surrounded by holographic diagrams and scattered tools. Dark circles showed under her eyes, but she couldn't stop smiling. "You're going to want to see this, Captain," she called out as Hyunki entered the room. She waved her hand through the hologram, zooming in on the fusion core's design. "Everyone's been looking at this engine all wrong." Hyunki crouched beside her, his uniform collecting dust from the floor. "Tell me something good, Engineer Lee." "Good? This is brilliant." She pointed to the core's structure. "See how old and simple it looks. That's because it's not trying to be efficient. Modern ships use cores that operate at nearly perfect efficiency. They can't be pushed any further. But this one," her eyes lit up, "this one has so much room for improvement that we can modify it in ways the aliens never imagined." The door hissed open again. Ju Choi walked in, carrying a heavy case of equipment. As the station's best weapons specialist, she had been handpicked by Hyunki for their secret project. "The alien observers are distracted," Ju reported. "They're too busy laughing at how long we're taking to understand the basic systems." She set down her case and opened it, revealing specialized scanning equipment. "Did you tell him about what we found, Damie?" "I was getting there." Damie stood up and walked to the core's main housing. "Captain, this ship wasn't built to be efficient. It was built to be tough. The aliens think that makes it primitive. But watch this." She typed commands into her tablet. The fusion core hummed louder, its light growing brighter. Warning messages flashed across the screens, but Damie ignored them. Modern cores would shut down if you pushed them like this. But this old beast. The core's energy readings climbed higher and higher. It just keeps going. Hyunki watched the readings with growing excitement. How much more can it handle? "That's the best part," Ju cut in. "The containment systems are massively overbuilt. We think the aliens got lazy over the centuries. Their technology became so advanced that they forgot the basic principles. But this ship, it's like a history lesson in fundamental engineering." Damie nodded eagerly. "And we understand those principles perfectly. Captain, we could double this core's output without risking containment. Maybe even triple it." "The aliens will notice that kind of power increase," Hyunki warned. Ju grinned. "No, they won't." She pulled up her own diagrams. "These power conduits run through the whole ship. We can hide the extra energy by routing it through systems the aliens think are decorative. They're so convinced we're primitive that they're not really watching what we're doing." A small alert chimed on Hyunki's communicator. "Speaking of watching," he said, checking the message, "Ambassador Taho says the alien observation team is requesting another progress report." "Show them the cargo bay," Damie suggested. "We've been pretending to struggle with the loading mechanisms. They love watching us learn how to use basic anti-gravity." Hyunki smiled. It was a perfect cover. While the aliens laughed at humans figuring out simple cargo operations, his team was secretly transforming the ship into something unprecedented. "Keep working," he ordered. "But be careful. We only get one chance at this. If they realize what we're doing." "They won't," Ju assured him. "Their arrogance is our best advantage. They gave us this ship to keep us down, but they forgot something important." "What's that?" Hyunki asked. "Humanity's greatest achievements often start with someone underestimating us." Damie turned back to the fusion core, her fingers flying over the controls. "Now let me show you what else this primitive ship can do. I found a way to modify the plasma containment fields that's going to blow your mind." As his engineers worked, Hyunki felt a deep sense of pride. The aliens thought they were teaching humanity a lesson in humility. Instead, they were about to learn one themselves. The Phoenix Dawn might have been born as a cargo hauler, but in human hands, it was becoming something else entirely. The galaxy's worst starship was about to become its biggest surprise. Minho Yang was the youngest physicist on the Phoenix Dawn project, and right now, he couldn't stop pacing. He walked back and forth in front of the ship's massive cargo bay, running his hands through his messy hair. "You're wearing a path in the floor," Damie said, not looking up from her work on the bay's control panel. "Either tell us your idea or sit down." "But it sounds crazy," Minho burst out. "The math works, but it's not supposed to work like this." Juwu looked up from her weapons diagrams. "Kid, we're turning a junk hauler into something that will make the aliens cry. Crazy is what we do here." Minho took a deep breath and pulled out his tablet. "Okay, look at the cargo bay's magnetic containment system. It's old, but it's incredibly strong. It was built to hold dangerous materials safely during transport." "We know that," Damie said patiently. "What about it?" "What if?" Minho's hands shook with excitement. "What if we connected it to the modified fusion core? The containment field could handle way more power than it was designed for. We could create a magnetic bottle strong enough to..." "To what?" Captain Hunky asked, walking into the cargo bay. He had learned to show up whenever his crew got that particular tone in their voices. "To turn the entire cargo bay into a weapon," Minho finished. "The biggest one humanity has ever built." The room went quiet. Damie stopped working on the control panel and walked over to look at Minho's calculations. Her eyes widened. This could actually work. Juwu joined them, studying the numbers. The aliens would never see it coming. "They think this containment system can barely hold cargo. They'd never expect us to weaponize it." "Show me," Hunky ordered. Minho pulled up a simulation on his tablet. "The modified fusion core gives us 3 times more power than the original design. If we channel that power through the cargo bay's containment field and reverse the polarity." The simulation showed a massive burst of energy. "We could create a magnetic pulse strong enough to disable any ship's systems. Or worse," Juwu added, her expert eyes seeing the weapon's full potential. "If we tune it right, we could tear enemy ships apart at the atomic level." The alien observation team chose that moment to make their daily inspection. 2 blue-skinned observers walked into the cargo bay, looking bored. "Still working on basic cargo operations?" one asked, not bothering to hide his contempt. "Perhaps we should provide simpler instructions." "We're learning so much from your guidance," Hunky said smoothly. He gestured to where Damie was pretending to struggle with the control panel. "The magnetic containment systems are particularly challenging for us." The aliens laughed. "Yes, we expected as much. Such systems are quite advanced for your species." They watched Damie press the wrong buttons with obvious satisfaction. "Take all the time you need. We understand these concepts are difficult for humans." After they left, Minho waited until the door closed before speaking. "They really don't see it, do they? They're so focused on how primitive we seem that they're not actually watching what we're doing. Their arrogance blinds them," Hunky said. He turned to his team. "How long to implement Minho's idea?" Damie was already modifying her engineering plans. 2 weeks, maybe 3. We'll have to work carefully to hide the power readings." "Do it," Hunky ordered. "But remember, we only get one chance to surprise them. After that, they'll know what we can do." The team got back to work with renewed energy. In one corner, Minho refined his calculations. At the control panel, Damie began the delicate process of modifying the containment systems. Juwu started designing the targeting controls, disguising them as simple cargo management interfaces. The Phoenix Dawn was no longer just an old cargo hauler. In the hands of determined humans, it was becoming something unprecedented. A weapon hidden inside an insult, waiting for the right moment to show the galaxy what humanity could really do. And somewhere in the vast darkness of space, that moment was approaching faster than anyone expected. The emergency alarm woke Captain Hunky at 3 in the morning. Red lights flashed through his quarters as he rushed to put on his uniform. The message on his screen made his blood run cold. Unknown alien fleet attacking Mars colony. Heavy casualties. 10 minutes later, he ran into the command center. Ambassador Tejo was already there, looking pale as he spoke to the huge screen showing the Astral Federation's representatives. "You must help us," Tejo pleaded. "The Nexus fleet came without warning. They're attacking civilian targets." The blue-skinned alien diplomat looked bored. "The Nexus are a known hostile species. However, as humanity has not yet proven itself capable of advanced space combat, we cannot risk our modern vessels in your defense. It might disrupt your natural development." Hyunki stepped forward. "Then we'll defend ourselves with what we have." The alien's expression turned to one of amusement. "With your single outdated cargo hauler? Please, Captain. The Nexus would destroy your ship before you could even power up its engines." "Maybe," Hyunki said calmly, "but we have to try." After the transmission ended, Tejo turned to Hyunki. "They're enjoying this. They want to watch us fail." "No," Hyunki smiled slightly. "They want to watch the Phoenix Dawn fail. And that's exactly what we need them to think." Emergency crews were already preparing the ship when Hyunki reached the hangar. Damie ran up to him, her tablet displaying various system checks. "Captain, we haven't tested the weapon in real combat," she said quickly. "We don't know if—" "Is it ready?" Hyunki interrupted. "Yes, but—" "Then we go." He looked around at his crew. "This is what we've been preparing for. The aliens think we're taking a suicide mission. Let's show them what humanity's worst ship can really do." Ju arrived, carrying her weapons control interface. "The Nexus have 15 warships attacking the Mars colony. They've already destroyed our orbital defenses. How many civilians still need evacuation?" Hyunki asked. "Over 2,000, Tejo answered, joining them. "The colony shelters won't hold much longer." Minho spoke up from his station. "Captain, I've been running simulations. If we can get close enough to their fleet—" He brought up a holographic display. "One burst from our modified cargo bay weapon should disable their entire attack force. Getting close is the hard part," Ju pointed out. "They'll try to destroy us as soon as we enter weapon range." Hyunki nodded. "Then we give them what they expect. They'll see an old cargo ship making a desperate, clumsy approach. They won't fire their main weapons at first. They'll want to laugh at us. And by the time they realize their mistake," Damie grinned, "it'll be too late." The Phoenix Dawn's engines hummed to life. The alien observation team watched from their station, shaking their heads at what they saw as a futile gesture. One of them even made a call, probably to invite others to watch humanity's embarrassing defeat. As the ship lifted off, Hyunki addressed his crew over the intercom. "Everyone listen carefully. What we do today will change everything. The galaxy thinks they gave us a piece of junk to keep us humble. Instead, they handed us exactly what we needed, a weapon no one will see coming." The Phoenix Dawn broke through Earth's atmosphere, its old hull creaking in a way that made the alien observers smirk. They didn't notice Damie's careful power management, hiding the true strength of the modified fusion core. They didn't see Juwoo's weapon systems, disguised as cargo controls. They had no idea that Minho's calculations had turned the entire cargo bay into a weapon of unprecedented power. As they set course for Mars, Hyunki looked at the alien observers one last time. They were still smiling, still certain of humanity's coming failure. He turned away, hiding his own smile. Sometimes, he thought, the greatest advantage was being underestimated, and humanity was about to prove just how dangerous that mistake could be. The Phoenix Dawn limped toward Mars like a wounded animal. On the bridge, Captain Hyunki watched as the Nexus warships noticed their approach. The enemy vessels were dark and angular, their weapons already glowing with deadly energy after destroying Mars' orbital defenses. "They're sending a warning message," Minho reported from his station. "They're laughing at us." "Of course they are," Hyunki said calmly. "All they see is a broken-down cargo hauler." "Damie, how's our power looking?" "Hidden and ready," Damie answered from engineering. The core is running at triple capacity, but our false readings show a struggling engine barely keeping us moving. The alien observers on board couldn't hide their pity. "Captain," one said, "you should turn back. This is pointless. Your primitive vessel cannot hope to." "Incoming fire," Ju called out. "Small weapons only. They're toying with us." The ship shook as minor energy blasts struck its hull. The aliens grabbed their seats, expecting disaster, but the old ship's thick armor barely showed a scratch. "Maintain course," Hyunki ordered. "Let them think we're too stupid to realize how outmatched we are." The Nexus fleet spread out in a standard attack formation. Their massive warships moved to surround the Phoenix Dawn, probably planning to destroy it slowly for their amusement. "They're in position," Minho said excitedly. "All 15 ships are within range of the cargo bay weapon." Hyunki nodded. "Damie, divert all hidden power to the magnetic containment system. Ju, prepare to fire on my mark." The alien observers frowned at the strange commands. "Captain, the cargo bay systems cannot possibly help in this situation. Please, be reasonable." "Now," Hyunki shouted. Everything happened at once. The Phoenix Dawn's struggling engines suddenly roared to full power. The cargo bay doors slid open, revealing not an empty hold, but a swirling vortex of magnetic energy. What are you doing?" one of the alien observers asked, his blue skin turning pale. "We're using your gift exactly as intended," Hyunki smiled. "We're hauling cargo. The cargo just happens to be a weaponized magnetic field strong enough to tear a fleet apart." "Fire," Ju commanded. The modified cargo bay erupted with blinding light. A massive wave of magnetic energy burst outward, spreading like a shockwave toward the surrounding Nexus fleet. The enemy ships, caught completely by surprise, tried to raise their shields. They were too late. The magnetic pulse hit their ships with devastating force. Their hulls buckled as the energy tore through their atomic structure. Weapons systems exploded. Engines died. In seconds, the mighty Nexus fleet was reduced to floating wreckage. "Direct hit on all targets," Ju reported, trying to hide her excitement. "The Nexus fleet is completely disabled." The alien observers stared in shock at their displays. "Impossible," one whispered. "You turned a basic cargo containment system into the most powerful weapon in human history." Damie finished for him. "Thanks for the primitive ship, by the way. Modern vessels are too well designed to allow modifications like this. We needed something simple and sturdy." Minho's console lit up with new signals. "Captain, we're getting messages from everywhere. The Astral Federation, other alien species, they all saw what we did." "Good," Hyunki said. He turned to the still stunned observers. "Please make sure your report mentions how humanity used your generous gift. We'd hate for anyone to think we didn't appreciate it." As emergency crews rushed to evacuate the Mars colonists, news of the battle spread across the galaxy. The Phoenix Dawn, the ship meant to humiliate humanity, had just destroyed a fleet of modern warships. And it had done so using technology the advanced species had dismissed as worthless. In the ship's engine room, Damie patted the old hull fondly. "Not bad for the galaxy's worst starship," she said quietly. The Phoenix Dawn hummed in response, its modified systems pulsing with power that no cargo hauler was ever meant to possess. The ship, like humanity itself, had just proven that being underestimated was sometimes the greatest advantage of all. 3 days after the battle at Mars, the Phoenix Dawn's crew stood in Earth's largest meeting hall. The room was packed with representatives from every major alien species in the galaxy. The Astral Federation's delegates sat in the front row, their blue skin looking slightly pale. Captain Hyunki tried not to smile as Ambassador Tato played the battle recording again. On the massive screen, they all watched the Phoenix Dawn destroy the Nexus fleet with its modified cargo bay weapon. Each time the magnetic pulse fired, the alien delegates flinched. "As you can see," Tahoe said calmly, Humanity has made good use of your generous gift. A tall delegate from the Astral Federation stood up. This is unacceptable. You took a simple cargo hauler and turned it into a weapon of mass destruction. This goes against all protocols. Does it? Damie stepped forward, holding her tablet. We reviewed all the documentation you provided. Nowhere does it say we couldn't modify the ship. In fact, you gave us this vessel specifically so we could learn from it. Minho clicked to the next slide, showing his calculations. We simply studied the basic principles of the technology you provided. Isn't that what you wanted? The alien delegates whispered among themselves. A representative from another species, one with green scales, raised her hand. Our scans show you modified the fusion core far beyond its design limits. How did you prevent it from exploding? That's the interesting part, Damie explained. Modern ships are built to be perfect, with no room for improvement. But this old ship, it was built with safety margins so wide you could fly the Phoenix Dawn through them. Speaking of other ships, Ju added with a slight smile, we've already started modifying the rest of our fleet using the same principles. The room erupted in shocked voices. The Astral Federation delegates looked horrified. One of them jumped to his feet. You have more ships like this? Impossible. We only gave you one vessel. Oh, that's right, Tahoe said, pressing a button on his podium. The screen showed dozens of old cargo ships in Earth's shipyards. After seeing how generous you were with the Phoenix Dawn, other species decided to sell us their outdated vessels too. Amazing how cheap they were selling them for, almost like they thought they were worthless. Captain Hunky stepped forward. Each of those ships is being upgraded with the same modifications we made to the Phoenix Dawn. Of course, we're making improvements with each new version. The alien delegates began talking all at once. Some looked angry, others frightened, and a few seemed impressed. The Astral Federation's lead delegate raised all four arms for silence. This is an outrage, he shouted. We demand you return the Phoenix Dawn immediately. It was clearly a mistake to give humans access to any of our technology. Tahoe smiled politely. Return it. But it was a gift. Are you saying the Astral Federation doesn't honor its promises? Other delegates nodded in agreement. The Federation was trapped by its own game. They had publicly given the ship to humanity as a sign of friendship. Taking it back now would be a huge political embarrassment. Perhaps, a new voice said from the back, we should discuss new trade agreements with humanity. It was the scaled delegate from earlier. Their innovative approach to engineering could be valuable to all species. More delegates nodded. The Federation representatives looked like they had swallowed something sour. Later, as the crew walked back to the Phoenix Dawn, Damie looked up at the old ship with pride. Not bad for a piece of junk, huh? They thought they were teaching us our place in the galaxy, Hunky said. Instead, we taught them something. What's that? Minho asked. Never give humans tools you don't want them to improve. Hunky smiled as he watched more old ships land in the shipyard. Because we'll always find ways to make them better than anyone thought possible. In orbit above Earth, the Phoenix Dawn's modified fusion core hummed quietly. The ship that was meant to be humanity's prison had become their key to the stars. And this was just the beginning. 1 month after the Battle of Mars, engineer Danny Lee stood in front of 500 eager students in Earth's new Space Engineering Academy. The massive screen behind her showed detailed diagrams of the Phoenix Dawn's modified systems. The most important lesson, she told them, isn't about the technology. It's about thinking differently. The aliens built perfect ships that couldn't be improved. We built imperfect ships that can always get better. In the back of the room, Captain Hunky washed with pride. Next to him, Ambassador Tahoe checked his tablet and smiled. The Astral Federation just sent another complaint about our training program, he whispered. What's their problem this time? Hunky asked. They say teaching primitive modification techniques to the younger generation is dangerous. Tahoe chuckled. They're right, of course, just not in the way they think. The doors burst open, and Ju rushed in. Captain, Ambassador, You need to see this. She held up her tablet, showing live footage from one of Earth's shipyards. A fleet of old vessels was landing. Cargo haulers, maintenance ships, even outdated patrol boats. Where did these come from? Hyunki asked, surprised. Everyone who isn't the Federation. Ju grinned. Other species are practically giving away their old ships now. They want to be on our good side before we figure out how to modify them anyway. At the front of the room, Damie was showing the students how to recognize hidden potential in outdated technology. Remember, she said, pointing to the Phoenix Dawn's cargo bay designs. They thought this was just for holding boxes. We saw it as a containment system that could be turned into something more. Speaking of the Federation, Taiho said, checking another message, they're demanding we stop accepting old ships from other species. And what did you tell them? Hyunki asked. I reminded them that they started this tradition of giving humanity gifts to learn from. Taiho's eyes twinkled. It would be rude to refuse such generous offers from our galactic neighbors. Minho joined them, carrying his latest research data. Captain, you won't believe what we found in those maintenance ships that just arrived. Their repair systems are so basic that we can completely reprogram them. I think we can turn them into automated construction yards for building more modified vessels. The aliens had thought giving humanity their worst ships would keep them weak. Instead, they had created a revolution in space engineering. All across Earth, students and engineers were learning to see old technology in new ways. In orbit, the Phoenix Dawn continued its patrol, now joined by dozens of other modified ships. Each one was different. Each one improved in ways the aliens had never imagined. The Federation's observers watched helplessly as humanity's fleet grew stronger every day. Another message from the Federation, Taiho announced. They're offering us some of their modern ships now. They say it's a sign of growing trust between our species. They're scared, Ju said bluntly. They want us to stop modifying old ships by giving us new ones they think we can't improve. Should we accept? Hyunki asked. Taiho smiled diplomatically. Of course. We'll accept any gift they offer. And then we'll learn from those ships too. After all, isn't that what they wanted? In the classroom, Dani was finishing her lesson. The aliens thought they were teaching us our place in the galaxy, but they taught us something much more important. There's no such thing as useless technology. There are only people who stop trying to make things better. The students applauded, their eyes bright with possibilities. Many of them would go on to make discoveries that would shock the galaxy. Some would find new ways to improve old technology. Others would create entirely new innovations that the aliens had never dreamed possible. And it all started with one old cargo hauler, given as an insult and turned into inspiration. The Phoenix Dawn had lived up to its name, becoming the dawn of a new age for humanity. An age where being underestimated was no longer a weakness, but the greatest strength of all. 5 years after the Battle of Mars, Captain Hyunki Kang stood on the observation deck of Earth's newest space station. Below him, dozens of ships moved through their training exercises. Some were old, some were new, but all had been modified with humanity's innovative touch. Quite a view, isn't it? Engineer Damie Lee joined him at the window. Her uniform now carried the badges of Earth's Chief of Engineering, but she still spent most of her time in engine rooms, teaching others what she had learned. Hard to believe it all started with one broken-down cargo hauler, Hyunki said, watching as a modified patrol ship demonstrated its new capabilities to some visiting alien diplomats. The Phoenix Dawn wasn't broken, Damie corrected with a smile. It was just waiting for someone to see its real potential. The legendary ship itself was docked nearby, now serving as a training vessel at the Space Engineering Academy. Its cargo bay weapon had inspired a whole new class of defensive systems. Its modified fusion core had revolutionized ship design across the galaxy. But most importantly, it had changed how humanity saw itself. Ambassador Taiho entered the observation deck, followed by representatives from 12 different alien species. None were from the Astral Federation. They had gradually lost influence as other species sought closer ties with Earth. And this is where we train our next generation of engineers, Taiho was saying. We find that mixing experienced alien engineers with human students produces remarkable results. Both sides learn new ways of thinking. Jumu walked in next, now the head of Earth's Defense Innovation Program. Captain, you're going to love this. The latest group of students just turned an old mining laser into something amazing. Want to see the test results? Before Hyunki could answer, Minho burst into the room. The young physicist had grown more confident over the years, but his excitement about new discoveries hadn't changed at all. Everyone, he called out. The first ship built entirely with human-alien hybrid technology just finished its test flight. It's better than anything we imagined. The alien representatives crowded around Minho's datapad, their expressions showing surprise and approval. Humanity's approach to technology had gone from being mocked to being studied in engineering schools across the galaxy. You know what the best part is? Damie said quietly to Hyunki. The Federation's gift didn't just teach us about engineering. It taught the whole galaxy a lesson about underestimating others. She was right. After humanity's rise, other primitive species were being treated with more respect. No one wanted to risk giving away technology that could be turned into an advantage. Some species were even purposely seeking out old, worthless ships to study them with fresh eyes. Message from the Phoenix Dawn, Captain, a young officer reported. The new training class wants to show you their latest modification. They say it's inspired by your original mission. Hyunki smiled. The ship that was meant to humiliate humanity had become a symbol of their ingenuity. Every year, thousands of students came to learn its lessons. That simplicity could be stronger than complexity, that flaws could become advantages, and that being underestimated was sometimes the greatest gift of all. Tell them I'll be right there, he said. Then he turned to the gathered aliens. Would our guests like to see how we train the next generation? The representatives eagerly agreed. As they walked toward the Phoenix Dawn's dock, Hyunki heard them discussing human innovation techniques with genuine respect. No one was laughing at primitive technology anymore. Inside the old ship's engine room, students from Earth worked alongside young aliens, all of them learning to see past the surface of things to the potential within. The Phoenix Dawn hummed around them, its systems still teaching new lessons about what was possible when you refused to accept limitations. Not bad, Hyunki said to his old crew. For the galaxy's worst starship. No, Damie corrected him with a proud smile. Not bad for the ship that changed the galaxy. And in the depths of space, more ships flew with modified systems and hybrid technology, each one a reminder that sometimes the greatest achievements start with someone trying to put you in your place and finding out that your place was far higher than they ever imagined.